Welcome everyone, it's great to have you here today as we talk about Trechoro. And once again, we're continuing on our little exploration of defining a range of different cars and features and attributes in SysML 2. Just a reminder that this is a pre-alpha version of Trechoro, and we're showing you all the things that it can do and how amazing the tool is. But I'm sure there might be some little tweaks along the way to improve the product and make it fantastic for you once it is released. Today we're going to be looking at engine and cylinder variants. So we're going to look at the variants feature and how that works with our engine and cylinder, which we've defined in previous videos. So my name's Scott Hebbert. I'm joined today by Stephen Maguire that's going to step us through the process. So welcome, Stephen. How are you today?
Very well, thank you, Scott, and thank you for the introduction. Yeah, let's make a start. Just a quick recap. We're looking at an example model here, a vehicle model, and we looked at in previous videos about how we've created attributes for our vehicle, how we've created actions, and we've looked at creating different versions or variants of our model. We had a four-wheel drive utility vehicle, and we also had a small family sedan as well. So we looked at the part definition for those. So let's just have a quick look at that. One of the things was that we had our four-wheel drive utility vehicle, and it had a number of different parts or part usages which we reused from the definitions. So we're going to look at this, look at our engine in a little bit more detail now, and look at thinking about different variations of the engine. And people, you know, whether you're an automotive engineer or not, you'll be familiar with the fact that engines will have different numbers of cylinders in them. So let's make a start. We looking at our tree view over here on the left-hand side, and we've got, you know, these different packages here. So we had a fuel tank definitions, four-wheel drive utility vehicle, item views, small family sedan, and things, vehicle part definitions. So let's put in another view here, and let's call it just call it this one. I'll get a new package there, and I'll call it engine four-cylinder variant. Okay, so let's do that. We'll create our package there. Now we want to create a diagram under here. Well, actually, first let's create another package that will hold some of the variants that we're going to put in. So we'll create another package under there, and we can do this any way that we want, but let's do it this way for a start. And then let's create a diagram. In this particular video, I think we might work on the diagram as a way we have in previous videos, just worked directly in the project browser and using the features windows and things. But let's create a diagram under here now, and we'll use a standard view. If you're not familiar with the views that are defined as part of SysML 2, here's these standard view definitions, and you can define your own views. You can see that Sparx have got some there. We've got other view definitions there. So very flexible mechanism for views. Let's just take this out of the box and choose the general view. We'll change this name here to variant view, and we'll say create that diagram. So what I want to do now is to create an engine variant. So I'm going to start by doing this. It's kind of, you know, it sort of enables me to get a start. So I'm going to put my engine onto, just drag that on as a part definition, and it lets me sort of see what's going on. Okay, that's my engine. It's got, you know, a bunch of attributes and things. Let's not really worry about that too much. I might get rid of this type one. I think I put that in there. Let's just delete that one out of there for the moment. But now let's go and create a usage of that. So this is, we're going to go to our toolbox now, and we're going to go to part usage. Careful not to choose port usage. They're kind of easy to get mixed up. But the view will help you with that. When you create views, you can completely limit this toolbox and say, decide what you want on there. So in fact, Scott, let's do that this time. Actually, having said that, I'm going to just delete this off here for a minute, and we'll just go fly a bit and say, look, let's redo that. And this time just to show you, we'll find that one in the project browser, and that's it there. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy that name. I'm going to delete this one out of here and just show you something with the view variant thing. So I'm going to go create new diagram. And this time I'm going to choose this Sparx view definition, package view part hierarchy, action flow view definitions. Let me have a look at this. Item definitions and usage. So define one of these before. So I'm going to choose that one there. I'm going to choose the same thing. What I've done is I've just decided that I can, use this view definition that's going to limit the this palette down, and I'll show you how that's going to work. I need to close the diagram. This is a pre-alpha little glitch, Scott. I'm going to close that diagram down and then reopen it, and you'll see now the toolboxes become a lot smaller. So I just wanted to do that. Sorry for the false start there, but I thought it's a useful thing to actually incorporate into this demonstration. So I've got that there. Now I want to do the same thing. I'm going to get my engine and I'm going to drag that onto the palette there as a link. It shows up because it's part of the view definition. You can see that's inside the SysML items and item definition, item usage. Now I'm just going to get make an item usage. So drag that over again. And I'm going to say that I want it to go as a usage. And you'll see now that engine has gone on there and the relationship is being created for you. And that is a feature typing relationship. Yeah. So I'm going to do the same thing with cylinder. I don't have any attributes defined on cylinder, but of course a cylinder could have a volume, for example. And whether you do that now or later, it's okay. But I'm just going to put that on there using the layout ribbon, multi-select those there, lasso them, layout. I just want to get them the same width and left aligned there. We might delete those off the diagram towards the end, but let's not worry about that. Let's get a cylinder here, and again, it's been defined there, but let's drag it on as a usage, and let's just go usage there, and we'll click that, and so exactly the same thing happens there. Yeah. So we'll move these across a bit to make a little bit more room. And now let's, we want to say that this engine is, we want to define a four cylinder engine. So yeah, let's do that. And so let's get a part usage from here, and let's put that on to our diagram, call it engine 4-cylinder. So we're defining 4-cylinder. Now, what we can do over here is have a look just quickly at this, our cylinders. So what I want to do with this cylinders one, before we start talking about being four cylinders, is over here I want to define some upper and lower bounds. So how many cylinders does this engine have? And so what I'm going to do is look at the upper and lower bound. So I'm going to say that the lower bound for this one is 4, and this one is 8, right? So so I've got that defined. Now, with this engine one here, I'm going to create a subsetting relationship. I'm going to first make this element composite. That's going to, you see it's got a dotted border around there. I'm not going to go into the details of why that's a sensible thing to do. Now I'm going to create a subsetting relationship between these two elements, and I didn't know why that didn't work. Oh, now I don't have that as part of my view definition. Actually, that's a problem. It's not part of my relationships there. And let me just go in and see if I can change that view definition. So up here in my view definitions, I want to have a caramel subsetting relationship. So let's go up to our view definitions and item definitions and usages there. Let's look at that. And we've got over here the definition of the view. So let's go and see if we can add that now and add a So we're going to go or at caramel.
Yeah.
At caramel, and it's been colon, and it's going to be a subsetting. That was a capital, wasn't it? Yeah, now you can see that it's actually done that. Let's do that. And so we've changed our view. And now we'll save that diagram, and we might close it and reopen it and see whether, that's going to be part of our view definition now. And caramel relationships, feature redefinition, subsetting. So that looks like that's worked. So let's go now and create this subsetting relationship. And that's one there. So you can see that I've adjusted that view on the fly. And just a bit of I haven't done that before in the tool, so that was a thing I just decided to do, and it's worked well. I'm going to change this line type, so line style. I'm going to change it to a Bezier, which gives us this ability to make this curve here.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice. I've got that there. I'm saying that my engine here is of type engine, and then I've got a variant of that, which is this engine four-cylinder, and I'm going to just expand that out to make that a little bit richer there. Now I'm going to work on this sort of cylinder side. So now I'm going to create a part usage. I get my part usage there, and I'm going to put this one as cylinders, because I'm going to have multiple cylinders now. And I'm going to say that this is a redefinition of that. Now, again, we might come up with our redefinition. No, that's one of our caramel relationships. So I'm going to create that relationship between that cylinder there, and we'll say that it's a redefinition of.
Yeah.
I've got that round the wrong way. So let's delete that for the minute. This will cause. Okay, so it's redefinition. So I did that round the wrong way. So it's redefinition. It's just a redefinition relationship there. So that's slightly round the wrong way. Let's expand this one out a little bit. And now this one here, let's say that this is actually has got an upper bound of 4 cylinders. So we're starting to get our our vehicle, our engine configured. So now let's get a part usage of a cylinder again, and we'll drag this one on, and this one will be an actual cylinder. So we want this to be a usage, and we'll say that, and we'll call it, instead of being called cylinder, we'll call it cylinder 1. Yeah, and we'll just get rid of that relationship off this thing for the moment. We don't necessarily want that on there. I want to hide it, so don't want to delete it, just want to hide that relationship. And then I want to create a subsetting relationship again between this one. So I'll select it and go subsetting, and there we have that one there. And now the other thing is, Scott, I need to make this a again, we don't have this relationship, so let's go back and do it. So we're kind of building up we need a feature membership relationship. So let's save this guy here, and let's go back now and choose our view definition again, item definition and usage, and there's our view definition. And let's go in now and edit that, and we need now a feature membership relationship. I don't think that was there, was it? No. Okay, so we need to go or at caramel and colon, and it's feature membership, and it's spelled correctly. Let's change that. Let's let's save the diagram, close that again, open it up again, and then we'll find that to be
the file name completion there is quite helpful, because it lets you know via the color that it exists and it's there.
Yeah, and there's our feature member relationship. So it should be an of relationship, so feature membership of that one. So careful to get those around the right way. And now we can simply just go through now and fill out the rest of our model by putting in these different cylinders. And I can kind of do that quite easily, Scott, by just selecting this one here. I'm going to go Control-C on my keyboard and Control-V. I'm going to change that one. So I've got the opportunity to create a new element, element 2, again there. It's going to go through, I'd have to go through a series of steps, but let's just do that again. So, Control-C, Control-Shift-V, and again, cylinder 3.
Yeah.
And again, the same thing for Control-Shift-V and cylinder 4. And we can then just simply go and, tidy this up a bit. We've got our 3 cylinders across there. We might need to move this stuff across.
Move things across a bit, yeah.
Across there a little bit.
The software reuse is quite powerful because once you spend the time getting one right, then you can create multiple cylinders, multiple engines, multiple cars, and
what was that one? Feature membership, and that's a feature membership. So I'm going to just change these guys to composite as well, Scott, as we're going along. So again, I'm not going to go into the details of why we do that, but it's a subtlety inside the SysML2. And again, I can just feature membership of, and we're just going to join those ones up as well in this relationship, which is a subsetting relationship there. We'll just do subsetting and subsetting, and then we've pretty much finished this diagram. So again, we can just line these things up. There's one other thing we do need to do, which is to make this one a feature membership of the cylinders, or a feature membership of the actual engine. So I'm just going to do that, feature membership of there, and then I can line these up. And again, I'm going to zoom in and out a little bit there and move these guys over. Move this there, get these things spaced evenly across. So I'll make them the same height. I'm using the alignment panel of the layout ribbon, and I'm going to say make them all the same size, space them evenly across, make their top edges aligned. Then these two here, I just make those centered as well. And we've got a model that's essentially finished, giving us our variation there. Now each one of these guys is going to have each one of these cylinders here. Well, actually, this one here 4, and that one there is 8. So yeah, we've got that. Well defined with doing this 4-cylinder vehicle. The other thing, Scott, is just in passing, I just want to show you that you can, if you want to, change the colors of these elements for particular reasons. So I could, choose that color there, and now, in a different color for my engine, it could be, that color. Let's make it, living in an age of biodiesel and green things. Let's just make that into a green engine. Is that what they call greenwashing? So anyway, there's the model. The other thing to remember is that, with that model created, I can create the textual notation. So I'm going to select that 4-cylinder variation there in that package in the browser window. I'm going to go to the Publish ribbon, to the Export or Model Exchange panel, the Export item, and I'm going to choose Caramel SysML export there. So we'll do that. A window pops up. I'm just going to, I've got a file already selected there. No, I haven't. Let me just choose a file for that one, and let me put that onto another screen for a tick, and we'll get an export for that. I won't be a minute. I'll select the file. Actually, so again, I think demonstrations. Just look at negotiating these. You can see demonstrations and Trechoro and exports and textual views. Right, that will do. And I'll call this the we call it the 4-cylinder engine 4-cylinder. Four-cylinder. Okay, we'll save that. Let's generate that out now. and we'll view that.
Yep.
And you'll see here now, I'll close this window. Again, I'll use the use this here, and you can see now I've got the model and the textual view next to each other.
To one another. Yeah.
And we've covered this in, previously. At the moment, we support the import and the export of the textual view. What we don't support currently is the ability to go and add things in the textual view and synchronize them with the diagram in that direction. This is not fixed in concrete or anything, Scott. Keep looking at the space. I'm sure there'll be lots of things as we move forward from a pre-alpha to an alpha beta and then a production version.
Yes. Excellent. Well, thanks for showing us how to do an engine and cylinder variation and building that up. It's been great that we can add a bit of color to the diagrams as well to make things stand out and help differentiate different parts of the engine and different parts of the vehicle. And that's been really good to also see that you can generate out the SysML2 code and have it sitting side by side with the diagram. To our audience, I encourage you to have a look on the Sparx Systems YouTube channel for other videos on Trechoro and many other Sparx Systems products. If you have any questions about Trechoro, you can reach out to Stephen using his credentials in the video description below. And as always, thank you very much for joining us today, and visit sparxsystems.com if you have any more questions about Sparx Systems products and would like to learn more. As always, thank you very much for your time, Stephen. It's been great to have you here today and seeing how easy it is to build up a 4-cylinder engine variants and to design that in Trechoro.
Always a pleasure, Scott.